introduce our presenter for the day. And I don't know whether any of you know Shawn, but Shawn McGrew has been with Strother Field for a few years. He told me, he said he's originally from Western New York, and I never would have guessed that if he hadn't told me right away. Anyway, he said he's affectionately been known at Strother Field as a janitor because he went there in '84, and you've had a lot of different positions up through, and he said that is what has probably helped him as much as anything, because he got to work under two pretty incredible people. Fred Tupper, who was the very first one, and when he retired, then it was, Donna Avery, and when she retired, they said, Shawn, we think it's your turn, you need to become our new Strother Field manager, which was a very good decision. So you've been that since 2000. And so he's worked at Strother Field for 40 years. And for those of you that had any indication, he's got, well, they live in Ark City, and he said he's been married for 41 years, but I know about one of the sons, and the other son also teaches in Ark City, and Nick was a teacher here and coach, and his wife as well, and now they're in Ark City. So we've given Ark City all of that good stuff. So anyway, Shawn is going to be here, and afterwards he will go ahead and present, answer any questions you have. Many of you, I'm sure, have worked at Strother maybe through those years, and it will be fun to see who had done that. It would be fun at the end, if you want to stay for a minute, we take a little picture that says, hey, these folks worked at Strother, and so we've got a little history that goes with that. So, Shawn.
Well, thank you for inviting me up, Cindy. What I've got here is just a little presentation that'll start out with a little bit of the prehistory or the history prior to Strother Field, and then I'll go over some of the current events that are going on in some of the industries and one thing or another what's happening out there now. So again, thank you for having me. Strother Field Airport Industrial Park, the heart of Cali County. See if I can run this thing. Many people believe that the field was first started by the United States Army Air Corps as a training center during World War II and given to the two cities after the war. Not so. The land had already been purchased and work started to construct a bi-city airport before the war was declared. When the Army Air Corps needed the site, it was leased in 1942 for $1 a year. At the conclusion of the conflict, the land was turned back to the cities along with all the improvements. The actual birth of Strother Field occurred in early 1940. There were several airstrips located north, south, and west of Ark City, but no municipal facility. Winfield, though, in 1940 had authorized a municipal airport south of Highland Cemetery so that students taking ground classes at Southwestern College could qualify for their private pilot's license. That same year, 1940, the Civil Aeronautics Authority advised that if Ark City and Winfield together would establish a good-sized airport, there was a possibility the Army Air Corps might locate a training installation there. Officials and civic groups from both communities studied the feasibility. There was a lot of enthusiasm and also opposition. A referendum vote was held in Arkansas City in August of 1940 to seek approval of a bond issue for the establishment of such an airport. The vote was successful. Work was rushed to complete Strother as a BT-13 training base. It was a basic trainer, the vibrating Vultee is what they called it, with the first class of cadets arriving in December 14th, 1942 for 9 weeks of intensive training. At the peak of Strother Field operation, there were approximately 3,400 Air Force personnel and 4,000 civilian employees at the field, with married officers and their families residing in both towns, and USO cadets clubs maintained in both communities. It was November 13th, 1942 that the Army Airfield became officially designated the name of the base. It was named after Donald Root Strother of Winfield, the first Cali County Army Air Force pilot to lose his life in World War II. And I understand it was quite a military family. I believe there was 4 brothers. The Air Force used Strother Field for about 3 years. It was deactivated in 1945 and turned over to the Army Engineers. Later to the War Assets Administration. When the city's officials were approached to terminate the lease and regain possession of the field, it didn't automatically become an airport industrial park. The city fathers delayed the decision until tenants could be found so that rental and job income could justify the expense of maintaining a large airport. Fairchild Engine Airplane Company was the first industry to come to the rescue with the fledgling industrial park. Harry M. McKay, formerly of Winfield, and then head of Fairchild Personnel Planes Division, was impressed with the facility and signed a 3-year lease for $51,000, providing jobs for 200 to produce an experimental plane, the AK-46. Unfortunately, by the time Fairchild had completed building and testing its new aircraft, the personnel plane market appeared to be glutted, and directors decided to discontinue this division, terminating their operation at Strother Field in '49. This was a blow, yet the two city governments realized that the industry had given them an opportunity to gather firsthand knowledge of Fairchild's potential. An evaluation revealed that when the Air Force left, the cities not only regained farmland, but also 23 buildings, a wastewater plant, utilities, runway, rail spur, various equipment such as tractors, trucks, mowers, asphalt equipment, fire trucks, etc. There was 3.5 miles of hard surface blacktop runway, 150 feet wide, plus taxiways, large concrete wrap, runway lighting, fencing, and paved roads. The cities were generating revenue to operate the field. In 1947, they levied $500,000 in each city for an airport maintenance fund. They also were realizing income from crops on land not used for airport or business purposes. Then oil was discovered under the West Auxiliary Field. The $500,000 levy was discontinued in 1952 and has never been reestablished. As the field and its operations grew, so did the need to become apparent for a quasi-government unit to conduct the complex business of the airport industrial complex. In September of 1966, the two cities entered into a mutual contract for the management and operation of Strother Field Airport Industrial Park. Among other things, the contract named the governing body the Strother Field Commission. The membership to be comprised of 3 members from each governing body, both city managers ex officio and both city attorneys ex officio. So this is just basically in a nutshell, a joint effort of Ark City and Winfield in 1940, CAA assisted, leased to the Army Air Corps in 1942, named November 13th, 1942 for Donald Root Strother, deactivated in '45, and the industrial park in '46. Funding and governance, initial funding was $500,000, both cities. Eureka, they struck oil. They discontinued the tax dependency in 1952. The mutual contract was signed in 1966, and the involvement of manager commission concept. The first manager hired was Fred Tupper in 1966, followed by Donna Avery in 1992, and they handed me the reins in 2000. What's going on with the computer screen here, but where's my
working?
Yeah, I don't know if this popped up.
Oh.
Just close it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See if we go on to the next one. Seems like we're stuck. There we go. Okay. See if that works. The first commercial service operations, flyer flying service, I believe was actually the first newspaper delivery in the United States by air. They would actually deliver the newspaper by air. Again, I think they passed away in a plane accident. Melvin Kern came in, was a fixed base operator after that. Following that, Kirk Branscombe came in, was our fixed base operator. He has since closed down the FBO operation, and he is now flying commercially. Fairchild Engine, again, was the first industry out there at the airport.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
When they flew the newspapers, I was part of that.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. It's so much fun to throw that out the window.
Throw them out the
Sometimes they stay, sometimes
They break open? I thought that
And
was
then
pretty
one
neat.
other thing I did from Current Aircraft, I did get my license out there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's see. The original core industries, Western Manufacturing in 1949, which sold and became Montgomery Elevator, and then it became Montgomery Kone, and then Cellcom USA and Witter ESA. It's currently Columbia Elevator. Gordon Pyatt Energy Group was sold to John Zink. They closed down and moved to Tulsa. Zico came in and bought it, tore down the buildings, fixed it up, was operating over there for a short time. They have mothballed it and have it up for sale. General Electric since 1951, and Greif Brothers in 1955. Some of the industrial growth that continued. Morton Buildings came in 1974. KSQ Blow Molding, which is now Plastics Products Groups. Winfield Consumer Products, which has since been sold, Husky Liners. Vector Technologies. We also have Ballard Aviation out there, a couple other small ones, but
When was Smith Moon out there?
Smith Moon was one of the original ones. It was Strother Thermoflood, then went to Smith Moon, then went to Strother Manufacturing, and I believe it closed down. Bill Young was out there. I believe Bill still has an operation down on East Kansas or 166 out east of Arkansas City. So the only thing that's changed now with the governing body is the Strother Field Commission is still 3 from Ark City, 3 from Winfield. We have gained 1 county commissioner and both city managers ex officio and both city attorneys ex officio. How are we funded? The sales of services is our water, our sewer, and our high pressure. Then our general revenue is building, land leases, interest, flows, fees, and our total revenue is just a little over $1 million a year. The water and wastewater system, we built a new water tower in 2000. Actually, the one that was out there when I hired on out there was a concrete structure, and Fred Tupper told me when he hired on it was a redwood open tank on the top. And when they tore it down, it was full of dead pigeons and a lot of bird crap.
Shawn, in the wintertime, when you go in, there would be icicles, as long as you could think, hanging down from the tower.
Then they put a bolt together tank on top of there that had the gaskets, and that's when I talked Don into we need to do something with this because we'd have icicles hanging all the way down to the ground. But that structure still had the catwalk in it and the openings for the service members to look out all the way around there. It had the peek out windows all the way around in there. So constructed that in 2000. Our south water tower was Pomona Tile's old clay storage facility. A little over 300,000 gallons. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We have 4 potable wells out there. We drilled 2 to the north away from the contaminated plume and 2 to the west. Our water mains out there are 8 inches, and we have a total of 54 fire hydrants. We have a separate fire protection system which runs a little higher pressure, so the industries that have sprinklers in there don't have to put as many heads. So there's three pumps down there. One of them's 100 horse electric at 1,500 gallons a minute. The other 75 horse electric at 1,000 gallons a minute. And then we have a turbo diesel down there, so if we were to use electric power out there, the industries would still have fire protection. The wastewater system consists of 4 lift stations, a mechanical plant, which was upgraded in 2008, state revolving loan funds. We got 7 miles of paved roads out there to maintain. We get $3,500 a year from Beaver Township, and Pleasant Valley assist with $20,000 in paving. The majority of the airport sits in Pleasant Valley, and a portion of it sits in Beaver Township. The tax dollars that are collected out there don't come back to Strother Field. They go to the county, the school districts, the mill levies, and the townships. We do have a remedial site out there in the early 80s. They found VOCs, cleaning solvents, basically in the drinking water out there. So So it became a super fun site. 4 new wells were drilled away from the contaminated plume. In 2000, the consent decree was signed and lodged with the Department of Justice. Greif, GE, and Strother Field are the primary responsible parties. Burns and McDonnell is the heads up the remedial group. Basically, we have 2 wells out there that pump 24/7. GE is responsible for 100% of one. GE and Greif is a 50-50 split on the other. Our responsibility is our maintenance guys go by and they basically read the meter every day and check on the chemicals that are added. You'll see those 2 towers standing out there. They almost look like wiffle balls on the inside. Pumps the water up to the top, cascades over the top of that. VOCs, volatile organic chemicals, so they evaporate very easily and then they go down the creek. So I want to say we're in our 5th 5-year review with the EPA. So basically it's pump and treat. The constituents you wouldn't even be able to detect with the technology they had back then. It's really come way down. So, and things generally remain status quo. So what makes Strother Field unique? There's 2 things city managers usually don't like to have to include in their budget: airports and golf courses. Both are very expensive to maintain, and normally you do not generate enough revenue to cover expenses. There's 144 airports in the state of Kansas. Strother Field is one of only 2 airports in the state that is not supported by a mill levy or a local tax. So the citizens around here have it very good, and most of them don't realize it. More than just a manufacturing center, you can see we've got the Mitchell Theaters on there. We have 4 County Mental Health, Twin Rivers. We also have the Humane Shelter out there. But there's a list of some of the current tenants that are out there. Now we'll see if I can get this to play. I might have to get my IT guy back up here. This is actually just some drone footage. There it goes. That's the General Electric complex there, looking south. There's their main office. Al, you probably recognize a lot of that.
Yeah. Shawn, when I started, the only thing we had was that hangar over there next to the runway.
Mm-hmm.
And then over here on this side was the old mess hall building. And that was, none of those other buildings were there.
Wow.
The mess hall, we converted it to where we could process the engine parts. When we first started, we disassembled the engines in the hangar, tagged them and loaded them on trucks and hauled them to Dark City and stored them in warehouses. And then when we got the mess hall done, we put the engines back into the shop and ran them through the system. Yeah.
And I didn't mention down there to the south, most of those buildings, when I hired on out there, the largest employer was actually Cessna. Cessna was there twice. They were there in the 60s and back again in the 70s. And I know they made a pretty good effort, concerted effort to try to get them back, but they chose independence over there. I think they had a little more money to throw at them. Let's see if this will go on to the next one. Okay. Of course, we got to the famous one out there, Ark Valley Distributing, Budweiser, one of my favorite ones. This is Columbia Elevator. Just a little aerial overview of that, or aerial shot. There's Greif Brothers, they're back in that corner. A lot of people don't even realize they're back there. Morton Buildings, pretty impressive complex they got over there. So the airport services, I'll talk a little bit about the airport. The designation is WLD for Winfield. We have 2 runways out there. The main runway, the north-south runway, 1735, is actually 5,506 feet long, and it's 100 foot wide now. The crosswind runway, 1331, is 3,100 foot long and 75 foot wide. Runway 1735 has a GPS approach with a WAAS LPV guidance. So those are a lot of FAA acronyms there. WAAS is a wide angle augmentation system with a lateral precision vertical guidance. So you've gone away from a lot of the based navigation aids that run ground. So much of it now is GPS. Currently, we do not have a fixed base operator. We did purchase the fueling operation from Kirk Branscombe. We have Avgas and Jet A available 24/7. It's just like pulling up to the gas station. If you got a credit card, you can get fuel. The pilot's lounge has 24-hour access. So if a pilot gets in, has inclement weather, it's raining, or they need to use the restroom, they can get in the building, have some facilities. We have a little pilot's lounge, refrigerator, TV, computer, just some of the necessities. And we also have a courtesy car for transient pilot use.
Hey, explain the lighted runway pilot activated.
The pilot will click 3 times, will bring them on high intensity. It's got to be dark out, so the pilot clicks the mic 3 times, they come on high. Those are usually blinding. 2 more times will take them down to medium, 2 more times will take them
We
to
didn't have
low.
that one, I didn't.
So it used to be the lights would come on and they would stay on all night, and all that was doing was running up the electrical
Okay.
bill. So now they have to be activated.
Can I make a quick story?
Sure.
I was flying at nighttime and my radio signal took me to Strother. You know, it's to, off and from. Well, I knew I was there, but for some reason, the runway, the lights were off that night. I don't know what was going on. And I got there and I couldn't see anything, and it said to, and then it said off. I said, okay, straight over the field. Kept going a bit, front. I said, wow. And I kept
Kept going over it, passing it.
and finally, I made a landing, and it was like, wow, this is strange.
That would have been a little scary.
I don't know what happened.
That would have been a little
So
bit scary.
about how many planes do you have that use the airport?
Well, we've got 10, 20, we've probably got about 35 based aircraft out there right now. You'll go out there some days and you won't see anybody. Another day it'll look like Strother Field International. You'll have a couple of jets in, a couple of twins. Just really varies. A lot of business jets come in and out. Ballard Aviation, they overhaul King Airs over there. They stay pretty busy. Painting shop.
Who does King?
Ballard Aviation, they were out of Newton.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. But on the airport, we receive federal funding. You have to be listed on what they call the NIPIS, which is the National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems. So first you have to have a master plan, and then you get listed on the NIPIS. It's the National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems. So all GE airports, similar to us, receive $150,000 a year in non-primary entitlement dollars. You can bank those for up to 4 years. Then they have what's called discretionary funds. So if the project rates high enough, if it's a major surface landing, or if it's nav aids or lighting, is how they rate the system. I'm going to go over just a few of the more recent projects we've had over the years and the funding and how we've completed that. Currently, it's a 10% match, so it's a 10-cent dollar. It was a 5-cent dollar. I just came back from the Central Regions Conference in Kansas City, and 25 and 26, they're going back to 5-cent dollars, so that'll be nice. Taxiway A, completely reconstructed in 2013, the federal share, a little over $3 million, the local match, $167,000. That was the year they went to a 10% match. I reached out to KDOT Aviation. They kicked in another $150,000 to help us complete that. So that was all old World War II asphalt. It has now completely been redone with concrete. So a little over a mile's worth of concrete right there.
Does that run the full length of?
Runs the full length of 1735, yes sir. Runway 1735, which we just completed a project on that, but in 2014 we got rehabilitated with new runway lights and also complete rubblization, and came back in and repaved it. Federal share was a little over $2 million. Our local match was $200,000 for a total project of a little $2.3 million. Did win a Kansas Asphalt Pavement Association award. Let's see if we can go to the next slide here. There we go. We'll see if we can get this to play a little drone footage right after they were still finishing it up.
It brings back memories.
Yeah. You'll see a couple of fellows down there walking on it. They're just finishing up the striping down there, but these drones are simply amazing. But you see how much brighter it is. The asphalt just gets oxidized after a while, and it just doesn't pop, doesn't have the darkness and the painting. Really makes it look really nice.
Shawn,
Yes.
do they still use that run-up pad over there? They don't?
No, not anymore. No, because they don't do any engines there anymore. I had that redone for Jeff too. That taxi lane going out there, yeah. And yeah, they did that, and now they ship them out, and everything comes in on a truck, and they ship the mechanics out rather than flying them in and landing them there anymore. In 2017, we redid the crosswind runway 1331, $1.5 million budget. That also won an Engineering Excellence Award. 2019, over around the fuel farm and Ballard Aviation, there was a lot of old World War II concrete that was very rubbleized. We were able to get a KDOT grant for that. The project budget was $290,000, final cost $298,000. When I first started at the airport, when Donna was out there, Kansas was one of the, might have been 5 or 6 states that actually there was no funding mechanism for their airports. So at that time, we hired some lobbyists, rallied the troops, the contractors, everybody. We went up. Mike Armour was director of KDOT then, and we got 0.25% of KDOT's budget, which was basically a little over $1 million a year. We've been able to get that increased a little bit every year, but it was for a lot of the smaller airports where the FAA wasn't going to give them 4,000 feet they needed. They would pay for a 2,500 foot runway. Well, KDOT would come in and give them the other 1,500 feet that they needed where they could get an air ambulance in and out. So it was really good partnership. And here's a copy of our airport layout plan. Every few years you got to go in and update your airport layout plan. That was October of 19, the budget a little over $100,000. They go through and look at all the way back to title opinions. They look at everything and where you're building things on the airport, one thing and another. The fueling system we purchased off Kirk in 2020. We did hire Rob Carroll Sandblaster to come in, had it all painted, put in a brand new card reader, new hoses and reels, and all the wonderful stuff that goes along with that. Taxiway B rehabilitation, blah, blah, blah. And that's the one, if you look out the terminal building door, if you look out to the west, that connects the 2 runways. It's right in the middle of the airport. It goes from one runway to the other. That was completed in December 2020, a little over $400,000 project. And we did get a new rotating beacon. The other one had been out there. That structure had been there since World War II, I assume. I know we rebuilt the motor a couple times and the gears and one thing and another, but it was time for a new one, so that's been a nice addition. Terminal apron rehabilitation, crack seal, slurry seal, eliminate direct access to runway 1735. If you see that green dot there that looks like a pool table, well, the FAA in their ultimate wisdom decided that they shouldn't be able to drive right from the apron out to the runway, or they shouldn't be able to come right from the runway right to the aircraft parking apron. So it was either rip all that out and plant grass there, or we painted it green.
Don't have to mow it.
I hit the right one here. Fat fingers. This one I'm really proud of. I wish we'd have built them a long time ago. Recently completed construction of 10 new T-hanger units. The project budget a little over $1.2 billion. KDOT did assist with the taxi lane grant of $288,000. If you want to have planes at your airport, you need hangars. The FAA has started tying funding to the number of planes you have at your airport. So every year we have to go in and confirm the end numbers that are based at our airport and submit it to the FAA. Some of the smaller airports that have lost their planes at their airport, maybe they're down to 1 or 2, they've lost their non-primary entitlement dollars. So it'll be a long time before they pay for themselves. The city of Winfield was kind enough to help us bond them. Strother Field, we have no taxing authority or bonding authority, so anytime we need funds on a project like this, we have to get one of the cities to step up and do the bonding for us. Obviously, at $300 a month for 10 of them, it's going to take a long time to pay them off, but we've got 10 new tenants out there. Current projects, just got done having it installed. We got a new emergency generator, a little over $300,000. That was KDOT. And then FAA AIP grant, Airport Improvement Grant. And now also they have this bill funding. So it just makes it more complicated when you're applying for grants because they apply them together. But we basically did slurry seal and crack repair on the main runway, a little over $875,000. And we're also installing some fencing by the terminal building. There'll be an automatic card reader on one side for the pilots to get in and out. The other will be a double gate, so if we need to get the fuel truck in and out. So monitor that just a little bit. Every year we we update our capital improvement plan, what they call it, our CIP data sheets. So there's the projects that we anticipate over the next 5 years. Airport drainage, clearing and grubbage of the drainage ditch, acquire some snow removal equipment, and construct an SRE building, which is basically snow removal equipment building. So they have lots and lots of acronyms. Future projects, 5 through 10 years, rehabilitate 1735, shift runway 1331 to decouple them, taxiway Charlie, reconstruct it, taxiway Delta, and perimeter fencing for the project. Those are 5 to 10 years, and then you do a long-range needs assessment. See if that'll come up. I'll keep pushing the wrong button. My fingers are too fat. So anyways, there's our south tower, and what a dandy that is. It was originally Pomona Tile's clay storage facility. Pomona Tile burnt down in the mid-60s, damaging the silo. Bids were taken in '68 to add a 45-foot wide steel tank to the top of the existing silo. We've applied for a state revolving loan fund to replace it with a new 200,000 gallon tower, a little over $1.2 million, and 360,000 of it will be forgivable. But if you see those iron beams running up the side of it, you really can't see, but a little daylight in there, the tank is warped. So they got with Smith Moon up there, and they purchased the steel. They erected it, had it drove into the ground, had that welded to the outside of the tower. And I've been in it a few times. I should have put some more pictures in there, but if you go in there, it's like a big thermometer. It drops down. There's probably a 10-foot hole in the middle of it. But every 10 degrees on the inside, there's angle iron welded to the floor. When we took bids on getting it painted, it was about the third of the cost to build a new tower. So finally got them convinced to take that thing down and get us another new tower out there. Big toy warehouse over on the west side of the airport. That was being leased by Western Industries, Plastic Products Group. That was built by Hans Batag out of Germany. That came in about when Fred and Donna were right in the transition right there. Jim Seibert had an offer in on it, or he was looking to sell it. Jim called me and I said, well, I'm sure we have the right of first refusal in there. The commission has been very wise in those choices. They put in those lease agreements or land sale agreements. They put in there, they have the right of first refusal. So we bonded that, purchased that property. It'll pay itself off in about 7 years. So a good forward thinking of the Strother Field Commission out there to make sure that they put those into the contracts.
So, big toys, are we talking?
Western Industries? No, Western Industries, Plastic Products Group.
Oh, really?
They make kayaks. I think they make the largest blow molding one-piece material at the time. Porta potties, suncast buildings, storage units.
Define big, tell them what big is.
Big.
And that was big?
It was a big toy, yeah, we ended up buying it.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, it's not big in the sense of huge.
No, that was the name, that was the name, that was,
guy that bought it.
that was the
Last
name of
name
the
was
company,
Big.
was Big Toy. And then recently, just last year, we completed, they needed more warehouse space. We constructed a new 100,000 square foot warehouse for Western Industries. Right next to that facility, there's actually a tunnel connecting the two. And then land acquisition property. We purchased, let's see if I can figure out that pointer thing there. Here it is. That quarter up there we didn't own. That's 222nd Road. That was the Nepper property. And right there was the Lesh property, which we just recently purchased. So those are properties that were contiguous to the airport, actually touching airport property. Thought it would be a wise investment to make that purchase, as they're not making any more land, and any more land that's touching the industrial park. Probably nothing going to be developed on it in my tenure. I've already got 40 years out there, but I can see it being valuable going forward in the future.
Is it in crops?
It's in crops, correct. You know, we really don't want a tower going, there's really no zoning in Cowley County. We really don't want something constructed next to the airport. The investments that have been made over the years out there, we definitely want to make sure we protect the runways and the airspace out there. So economic impact factor. KDOT hired a company to go out and do an economic impact factor and look at what each airport in the state of Kansas has done. As you can see, Strother Field right there, a little over $2 billion, $2.198 billion. You look at the payroll there, I can't read it from here and I can't read it on here, but it's substantial. It'll be on another slide. There we go. So the annual economic impact of commercial service airports, that's going to be Wichita. No, it's not Wichita anymore, but it's going to be Garden City. It's going to be, you know, the ones that have commercial service going in on them. So their total payroll is a little over $1 billion, and the total output out of all those, there's 5 of them, is a little over $5 billion. Annual economic impact of general aviation airports. So the total payroll of general aviation airports, about a little over $500 million. All general aviation airports, the total airport is 3 billion, a little over 3 billion, almost 4 billion. If you look at Strother Field, our total payroll is 189 million. The total economic impact, $2.189 billion. Strother Field accounts for 47% of the total output of general aviation airports and 20% of the total economic output of all airports combined, including commercial. So in conclusion, we got 22 tenants out there that employ close to 1,700 employees with an annual payroll of $189 million. Total economic impact of Strother Field is over $2.189 billion. All of this with no tax burden to the citizens of Park City, Winfield, or Cowley County. I believe that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Sure.
I noticed we didn't talk about Mossman Guitar Factory.
No, we didn't. I didn't know how long I wanted to bore you guys. There's a lot of
Well,
others.
this isn't boring. In fact, I got to tour that
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah, Mossman Guitars over there. Well, Rob Carroll is in that building now, signed brass. That's actually where Bob Tyler started out. That's a 5,000 square foot warehouse. Bob was in there. That's where he started out with one machine in there. Prior to that, it was IQ. Brad Young's son had a little installation business in there. And then prior to that, Montgomery Elevator did some electrical work in there on elevator cabs. And then prior to that would have been Mossman Guitar. Yeah.
Does the Humane Society pay a grant on their facility?
They have not on their facility, they own their facility, they pay rent on their land, I think it's $200 a year or something like that. It's very,
I was hoping it was very low because they.
yes, I believe it's $200 a year, it's very minimal. But we do have federal grant assurances out there, that's one of that things I have to make sure we do out there so we don't violate the federal reinsurance is we have to make sure we're charging fair market value. Being that's not a floodplain, a lot of value to us. So anytime we're doing leases or anything like that, we need to make sure that we're charging fair market value, so we're not violating any of our federal reinsurances and have to pay back those millions of dollars that they've given us over the years.
Can we go into a little bit about the training aircraft that when it was an air base?
Yes, it was a BT-13. They called it the vibrating Vultee.
Who built it?
Vultee.
Okay.
And right towards the end, they actually did have some fighters in there. It was a short effort. I want to say just a few months, and then the war effort ended. But they brought in some fighter planes.
They were P-47s.
Okay.
Okay.
And they brought them in for a short time. I know Norman Iverson actually was out there, one of the old attorneys in our city. I believe he's passed away, but he was actually training in the fighters out there.
Oh, really? Okay.
They brought him in, but it was just it was a short window. But yeah, it was a BT-13, the vibrating Vultee is what they called it.
Yeah, but the engine, that just created vibration.
Yeah, I guess it just vibrated really
That
bad.
would have been so interesting to drive by and see all the aircraft training.
Oh, we've got some photos out there. And there was the other auxiliary fields. There was the Magnolia Ranch, which is a grass strip. Then they have the West Auxiliary Field, which that was in Sumner County. That's where the drag strip is now. They would fly out there and train also.
Okay, my mom was raised south, almost to the Oklahoma line, east of Ark City. And one of the planes from Strother went down and crashed. Her and her brother saw it crash in the field. The guy tried to bail out and his parachute got caught on the tail of the plane and he went down with it. So my mom and my uncle were there at his, where he died and was part of all that.
Yeah, and I guess years ago there was it Haynes Airport?
Well, I
down
flew
South
out of
York
Haynes,
City,
too.
so a
I
lot
flew
of
out of
them
Haynes.
flew out of Haynes out there.
Yeah, I flew out of there too. Yeah.
Oh, I could have made it. I
Well,
just trying to
hey, I'm an
condense it down. I
airplane
didn't want
guy.
to bore you guys too much.